room. It's our so-called reporting date, August 1st, which is, to us football coaches, it doesn't seem like reporting day at all, because the game of football these days are played year-round. Our student athletes are here year-round. It's a never-ending process, but I guess it is a starting point. But we still have our student athletes that are still in summer school, finishing up exams today and tomorrow, and of course we'll start practice and preparing for our opening game against the University of Tennessee. But we always use that term exciting. I think everybody in this business says, "Oh, I'm so excited, I'm so excited." But what I tell our team at this point is we have opportunities to be successful if we go out and we treat the next month business-like and go out there with an attitude and an effort and an intensity that will really kind of dictate our image and our reputation over the course of a season. We've got a lot of answers that need to be found here in the next few weeks, and I think it's going to be a great opportunity for both young and old to go out there and experience a tough, physical preseason camp and get us kind of heading in the right direction as a football team. When you come off a season kind of like we did a year ago, there's a lot of bad taste, there's a lot of bad feelings in your mouth and wherever it may be, but you're just not real happy, and the off season's not as good, and you have a little chip on your shoulder because you know that there's so many things we could have done better. We could have put ourselves in a better position this way or another way, and we just really use that off season to reflect and kind of see what direction and what focus do we really need to have going into this fall. And without a doubt, if you look at us from a year ago, our defense has to be a step up. There has to be a lot of changes that have to be made in that, and then of course keep developing our offensive football team, and then keep building upon what I thought was a solid special teams from a year ago. But we are thrilled to be here today, August 1st, heading into this season. As you can see, you just walked through a beautiful facility here at Georgia State Stadium. And I certainly want to thank everyone that's been involved in this, because it doesn't just happen overnight. You think of our football program just being 10 years old. This just doesn't happen. You don't have the facilities, you don't have the weight room, the training room, you don't have a nutrition room, you don't have the type of staff that we've got put in place in such a short amount of time like we have. But I really want to thank everyone involved and that has just taken a part. From you name it. So it's a very, very special feeling standing before you in our own operations suite and having our media presence and kind of kicking it off this year. So with that kind of opening statement, we'll open it up to you guys. Ask any questions, feel free. So please do.
If you would, raise your hand, I'll bring the microphone over to you.
Hey Coach, Taylor Dinan, ThursdayNight.com. I have a question for you about, to my knowledge, this is the first time Georgia State is going to be starting their football team or football season on the road. Does that change your approach at all, comparing first game of the year as a road game compared to a home game?
I don't think so. To tell you the truth, it doesn't play really into anything in our preparation. Other than the fact, when you go and you're playing in front of 108,000 fans, you have to work on a little bit of the game management from a hearing aspect, but to tell you the truth, it's not much different.
John Radcliffe, 680 The Fan, Atlanta Sports X. Coach, with ultimately on offense, 23 returning lettermen and 24 on defense. Ultimately, are your expectations higher now that you basically have so many veterans, so many leaders on this team at this point in time, that coming out the gate you're looking for that leadership right away, or are you just going through camp looking to feel people out and see where everybody falls?
No, I am feeling fairly confident, to be honest with you. We go through an off season, and an off season is to develop leadership, is to develop, whatever your program wants to be about. And when I had my end of spring meetings with each one of our players, I do it every single year. I ask them about who are our leaders on our football team. And you can get a sense of how your team is going to be and and how they're gonna respond, how they're gonna react to certain situations, because 2 years ago, I would have had 20 different answers about who our leaders were. And in our spring meetings, I had about 5 answers. And so everyone kind of knows who those guys are. And there's some guys that have been here for a while, some guys that are relatively new, but there was a real distinct picture of who our leaders were and who they're going to be. And that is a positive sign. You're not going into each and every week looking for some guy to step up. Everyone has the sense of these are our men, and these are the guys that are going to lead us. And we have those guys marked, and they've done a good job this summer as well.
Hi, I'm Emmanuel Morgan with the AJC. So I was flipping through this, saw a lot of new coaches. How do you feel about your new hires, and how do you feel that they can add to the program?
Yeah, when you look at our new hires, we had some turnover, and we certainly did. I think in our offensive coordinator, hiring Brad Glenn, Brad and I are real familiar with one another as far as an offensive sense. We came in, and it was like we never left, and I think I last worked with Brad in 2009 at Appalachian State. So we instantly sat down and started calling the same things that we were calling, several years back. So that was a real familiar hire. I think Jimmy Smith at the running back position brings a wealth of certainly notoriety from what he's done at Cedar Grove and what he can do with our running back position, which I think is a pretty talented position. Trayvon Robertson going with our defensive line. Trayvon was a guy that was here 2 years ago and now is back with us. And Trayvon had as much of an impact 2 years ago on our first bowl winning team. And I just felt comfortable having him come back and establish himself as our defensive line coach. Sheil Wood comes over from Georgia Tech. He's going to handle our special teams and then also our linebackers, our inside linebackers. So, I feel very, very confident. But one of the things that I really think is real significant about the new hires, John Sisk. Coach Sisk came from Georgia Tech. He was a strength and conditioning coach over there. And what he was able to do with our football team over the course of the offseason and now this summer with he and his staff is really, I think, going to be the telling factor. I've seen individuals become, from a strength standpoint, really grow in that aspect of it. They really, you can see the change in their physical appearance and their work ethic and their discipline. And that's something we really need, to tell you the truth. And I think that's a real important hire. Thomas Austin, the offensive line coach, is a guy I'm familiar with. But, actually, is from my hometown. Played offensive line in the NFL. Was a coach at Clemson University. So yeah, the new hires. There were quite a few of those, but we all feel like we're as one and very convenient. Not convenient, but very comfortable around one another.
Coach over here in the middle.
Yes.
Marcel Patu, Sports Inquirer. Discuss Dan Ellington and his evolution at the quarterback position from last year, being a newcomer to the program, to now having a spring and a summer to work with the team.
Oh yeah, Dan. Yeah. It's almost every single day I see Dan, there's something new and exciting about him. I thought he did a quite good job a year ago. He limited his turnovers. He was able to utilize his legs in the running game. He didn't put the ball in jeopardy as far as in his throwing game. I think he's capable of doing both. I think he's a strong leader. I think as I said down at media days there in New Orleans that good football teams have to have a good quarterback, and that good quarterback has to be a good leader. And I think Dan is that for us. I see him really more so developing this year under Brad Glenn in the type of offensive scheme that we'll run. It won't be drastically different than what we've done in the past, but there's some new things to let Dan kind of take advantage of the game himself. Let him kind of dictate some of the things that we didn't let him do a year ago. But really just thrilled to death to have him here. When you watch a guy like him work, you see a smile on his face, you see a determination on his face, you see the intensity that you want in your quarterback. And like I said, every day I walk in and see his face, I start smiling.
Coach Luke Gamble, Fox 5 Sports. You talked about Jimmy Smith from Cedar Grove. Obviously, he's an Atlanta guy. He's been around. He established a winning culture. What does it mean just to be able to bring him into your program? And then what does it mean from a recruiting standpoint and getting guys from the Atlanta area in here?
Yeah, well, hiring Jimmy was one of the most important things, and to tell you the truth, it's great for recruiting and things of that nature, but his, I think, relationship and how he coaches those players is really the biggest surprise. I mean, he had an instant impact with our running back group. When I say instant impact, I mean, the guys were walking in like, Coach, man, he is awesome. He is fantastic, just the way he communicates with one another, especially in recruiting. His name carries a lot of weight in this area for what he did at Cedar Grove, you know, winning those championships. Just really thrilled to death. And what's really great about Jimmy is down to earth. Man, and we all are as a staff. We're really down to earth type guys. You know, he could have walked in here and you know, from what he had done in that high school and so many championships and just, you know, but he's really just down to earth. He's just a good old guy, a good old coach that loves football and loves kids.
And then talking about the new facilities that you have here,
Yes.
the addition to your facilities, just what does that mean for your program and taking a step in the right direction and taking that next step to providing a winning culture here at Georgia
Yeah.
State?
You know, when you look at these facilities, you look at where we are today in our team room, our weight room, our training room, our operations suite, the stadium. I don't look at it as taking a step. We took a leap, a big leap. I mean, there's an abundance amount of programs across the country that would love to be sitting in these facilities right now. And we have coaches that come through here from other programs and their mouths drop and they're like, you know, they're pretty much amazed. So it does, you can utilize, or you can say take a step, I say take a leap. But what we've done and what we've established here at Georgia State Stadium, as far as the convenience for our student athletes, the first class facilities that we have now, and what we can do here in season and out of season is phenomenal.
Hey, Coach. Hey, my bit more with Panthers.com. You guys were one of the youngest teams, at least by my record, in the country last year, playing so many freshmen. Certainly was a storyline all season long.
Yeah.
Best thing about freshmen, they become sophomores, was the old quote. Some of those folks are sophomores who played last year. What's kind of the, I know you've seen them in the summer, obviously through spring again. What's kind of some of the maturation there in terms of the returnees who were freshmen last season?
Yeah, you know, anytime you come in and you play immediately as a freshman, you haven't been through the fire with the guys on the football team. I mean, you haven't developed that sense of the trust. You know, you haven't been through that off season. I mean, you really haven't pushed yourself in front of those men. So it's really hard. And they're coming from a high school program right into a collegiate atmosphere and being set forth in front of some grown men to go out and play. The development under our strength and conditioning staff is first and foremost key. Some of those guys they can walk in there and get up under a bar in a weight room because I was scared it was going to fall on them and hurt them. But now you see the strength develop. The mental aspect. I mean, the mental aspect, the confidence of knowing that you've been out there and done that before, and now you have an opportunity to go out there and utilize the knowledge you gained from those types of games that you had. Thus being, I mean, yeah, they were tough games for us, excuse me. They were tough. But to know what to expect, I've seen all that. You see kids with eyes that were that big, now those eyes are a little bit smaller now. And that's great to see.
Hey, Coach, me again.
Yes, sir.
When it comes to your approach, now you're coming into your third year here, what do you think has changed, or maybe you've gotten a little bit new perspective on from your first season now coming into your third season here at Georgia State?
You know, that's a great question. It really is. I can tell you one thing: the older you are as a football team, the better you are as a football team. It doesn't matter if you have better players or whatnot. It's just the experience, it's the knowledge that these guys are carrying over from game 1 to game 2 to game 3 to season 1 to season 2 to season 3. I think our first season we had, I can't remember, it may have been 28 seniors, Allison, something to that effect. So we had an abundance of age and experience on the football team. And it wasn't so-called winning experience, but guys that have went out there and played. So when I look at our football team, I go through, you know, let's just say the offensive line. You look at those guys and you say, okay, how many starts have they had under their belt Let's talk about our wideouts. Let's see our running backs. You know, how many of those guys have actually went out there and played? So when I look at this football team, I see a lot of guys that have gained that experience, and I see a guy that's going to go out there and utilize that experience to become a better player and then ultimately make us a better football team.
So in 30 days, you'll meet up with Tennessee, and I mean,
Yes.
basically, first time, it's easy to get excited about the situation of where you're playing, who you're playing, your first time putting on pads. What's your message, day one, to try and keep the focus on not the lights and the glitz and the glamour of it, but to what the goals are for this season?
Well, if you've sat in my meeting or heard me speak from time to time, there's not a lot of glitz and glamour talk from me. It's really straightforward. I mean, more importantly, is to the point. They know exactly where we stand as a football team. They know who I am as a football coach and how we're going to prepare to go into any game, whether it's Tennessee or it's going to play Chattanooga. It doesn't matter. You got to go in with a mindset that it's going to take hard work, determination, effort, enthusiasm, and a lot of tough days to get us where we can go and even compete in that first game. So we won't be talking about glitz and glamour and stadiums and size and really who we're playing for until probably that game week. Yes.
Hey Coach, Kelly Price, Fox 5 Sports. How excited are you guys to just get out there tomorrow and kind of get this thing rolling?
You know, if you're a football coach, this is what you live for, to tell you the truth. I mean, to think that you only get really 12 games to go out there and play, and then you've got to go recruit. You get 15 days of spring practice. You can't really work with them in the summer. That's hard for a coach that really lives to go out there and compete and work and be around his football team. So, you know, I said it earlier, we work continuously year round, but the fact that we get to all go out there, practice together, meet together, be around one another. I mean, the game of football is about camaraderie, it's about family, it's about relationships. There's not a whole lot of individualism in it. That's the exciting part. I mean, that's truly what makes a coach is having that opportunity to have, I won't call them my guys, but our guys, to all be here together, and then try to take that football team, mold it and grow it into something that's going to become successful. That's what really fuels me.
Hey Coach, Dave Cohen from the Georgia State Radio Network.
Good to see you, Dave.
Good to see you too. Somebody asked you about Dan Ellington earlier. He was our leading rusher, but one of the things that we were excited about last year was how well we ran the football, and all those guys are back.
Yes. Yeah, you know, we are. You know, you look back a year ago, and we developed a running game, and that was probably the most asked question when I first arrived here. Can we run the ball? Are we going to be able to run the ball? Well, yes, we're going to be able to run the ball. We certainly are. I think our running back position is strong. I think we have 4 or 5 backs that are very, very capable of carrying the football and doing it quite well. I think they did so a year ago. We still have one guy that was registered, Dawson Hill. I mean, you haven't even seen Dawson, and Dawson's a powerful runner. You have 2 other guys that played as true freshmen. Destin Coates ended up becoming a starter early on and then broke his foot. So now he's back. You got Seth Page, you got senior and Trey Barnett, but I thought had a really fine season. So we've got the ability to have the ball carriers carry the football. Now, with that being said, you've got to have a solid offensive line up front. We've got 4 or 5 starters returning. We've got to solidify a right tackle position, but I think we're heading in the right direction in doing that.
Coach, right here in the middle. You kind of touched on a little bit where, you know, freshmen becoming sophomores, guys stepping up into leadership positions. Do you have a couple names you can throw out of guys that have impressed you kind of in this offseason of stepping up into those kind of more vocal leadership positions of maybe, you know, Penny Hart leaving, you know, guys in the wide receiver room stepping up, stuff like that?
You know, I really hate to throw names out because as soon as you throw the name out, they read about it and they start getting full of themselves. But, you know, if you talk about a wide receiver room, I mean, you got a senior in Christian Owens that has done it, but you got a young guy in Cornelius McCoy that started as a true freshman a year ago that looks to have a bigger impact, not just on the field, but in that meeting room and in that leadership position. So he's a guy that you can really see a difference where he just stepped on the field. The great thing about Cornelius McCoy is we recruited him, so we offered him his, I believe it was his junior year, and he was a great wide receiver. So out of necessity, they moved him to defensive back at his high school for his senior year. He had a couple of clips, a couple of games where he played the wide receiver position. And then for him to come in and transfer back to the wide receiver position, end up becoming a starter for us as a true freshman. Think of how much better he's going to be as a sophomore. And think of the knowledge that he's gained, and then the confidence as well. So when I talk about the maturation process, that's a great example of it. Here he is, he's familiar in what we're doing, and he's almost going to have to step up and become the leader of that group.
Coach in the middle right here, Marcel, once again. Discuss Brandon Wright and the punting and kicking duties and special teams in general. Just how's that unit looking, and how valuable has Brandon been for your field positioning and just for the team in general?
Yeah, Brandon, boy, let's talk about his punting. I mean, Brandon could go out and lead the country in punting. You know, if we let him just kick the football. And when I say kick the football, I mean just go out and bomb that thing. We rugby style sometimes to keep it out of returner's hands, because he does, when he does boom it, he outkicks our coverage. It's hard to go chase down a 65-yard punt and then have a 20-yard space in between the top returner. So we do some different things with him, but he gives us an opportunity. You know, it's really gratifying to know that you can go out there and have a kickoff team where you know that thing's going through the end zone. It's something that really settles my stomach, to tell you the truth, knowing that he has the powerful leg to do that. Sometimes the place kicking is a little bit up in the air, but he's worked very, very hard on it this offseason. He's done a fine job this summer, really toning in that skill. And for someone to have the ability to do all three, that's a very, very specialist, if you want to word it like that. So thrilled to have him. I think we're very solid in that area. I think we can do some other things to make us a little bit more efficient, whether it's returning the football and kickoffs or whatever it may be. But we're moving in the right direction in that position.
Any other questions for Coach?
Emmanuel again. So when you look at the conference, in your opinion, what are the steps that you guys need to take to kind of compete with App State and like those people like that?
What are the steps?
Yeah.
Well, we just got to continue to build this football program the way we have. You know, sometimes you try to go and compete so quickly that you lose sight of what you're trying to do for the long run. I mean, we all, listen, I don't want to go out there, I want to win 10, 11, I want to win 12 games, I want to win the bowl game, I want to compete for the championships, but ultimately I want this thing and this football program set up for success for long term. We're continuing to do the things that we need to do to put ourselves in a position to go and compete with the App States and the Troys. It's called recruiting, and I think recruiting the high school level, I think developing guys that you can bring in here, have the opportunity to redshirt, gain experience through the course of their career, other than probably being a quick fix. Sometimes you have to have a quick fix and you have to go the 2-year JC route with some positions, but we're trying to do it the correct way and the right way. And I think if we continue to do that, ultimately, we're going to be right where we need to be to go and compete. You know, it's so funny, you know, just 2 years ago, we were sitting out here, and I believe it was Thanksgiving weekend, and we were playing Appalachian State, and we were both tied for first place in the conference. So, you know, it's not something that's going to take quite a bit of time to do, but it has to be done the right way.
Any other questions for Coach?
Well, thank you.